everyone, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star. If you're new here, please consider subscribing and helping us feed a hungry hippo. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Today we're going to be talking about keywords for costume and fashion jewelry. I don't sell real gold, real silver, luxury, any kind of jewelry like that. I do all costume and fashion jewelry. So we're going to talk about keywords for those types of pieces. Now, full disclosure, I am about 75% self-taught with help from Google and List Perfectly's AI lister. And the other 25% I have learned from other resellers that I talk with either in social media or in the listing parties that List Perfectly hosts. So that was where I learned about selling jewelry first. My friend Don mentioned in a listing party that he buys bulk jewelry from Whistlepig Market on Etsy. If you've seen me do an unboxing on here, she is the only place I buy jewelry from. I don't buy from any other place. No Goodwill Blue Box, no American Thrift, nowhere else. I solely buy my jewelry from Whistlepig Market on Etsy for a multitude of reasons. The number one reason being I'm a small business. I want to support another small business. So if I can buy from her and support her business, her Etsy small business versus supporting Goodwill, I'm going to do that. But also she's a really great person. She has reached out to me several times. She comments on my videos. She has given us a code, and by us I mean me and everyone watching this video and that watches the unboxings. You can go to her Etsy and use code HIPPO at checkout, HIPPO, and get 20% off any order. And she packages so well. She really packages her items well. The earrings are all in separate bags. The pendants are always in separate bags. She keeps sets together. Everything is nicely packed. It's never tangled. You're never going to pull out a huge clob of jewelry. She does a really good packing job, and she ships really fast. She offers free ground shipping, and she ships really fast. So for all of these reasons, I only order from her. If she were ever sold out and I was backed into a corner and I didn't have any jewelry to list, I would probably just go over to Throw It Up and order some denim boxes and survive on jeans until she had more in stock. That is how much I like her products. I like her customer service, and I like her items that I get from her. I'll put her store down in the description box. Full disclosure, I am not an affiliate. The only benefit I get from talking about her and sharing her store with you guys is that I also get to use the code HIPPO. So I pay about $6 a pound for jewelry, and that's wonderful, especially considering the great product and everything I just mentioned. I am going to talk a lot about List Perfectly in this video, and I am an affiliate with them. I am a List Perfectly affiliate. I do make a percentage of everyone who signs up using our code. However, it benefits both of us. It is symbiotic. If you are new to List Perfectly and you've never tried them, and by the end of this video, you're like, wow, this is something I didn't know List Perfectly could do. You can use our code FlippinHippos, sign up, get 30% off your first month. No obligation, no contract. At the end of 30 days, if you don't like it, you cancel it, you walk away. If you fall in love with it the way I did 5 years ago now, you can stay around and increase your productivity, your sales. List Perfectly is not just a cross-listing service. These days, it also manages your inventory. It can create listings for you with their AI. It can help teach you keywords, which we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to show you how I use List Perfectly to teach myself keywords. It can share your Poshmark closet. It can send offers for you on your behalf on your Poshmark closet. There's a lot that List Perfectly can do. Now, I am going to show you how I learned and how I taught myself using List Perfectly, but I'm also going to show you I call it the layman's way. So if you don't use List Perfectly and you aren't going to sign up and you have no interest in it, that's fine. I'll show you how to do this without List Perfectly. But I have to show you how I learned, so I have to show you what I used to learn, and then I can show you how to do it if you don't have List Perfectly, okay? So we're going to jump right in with some screen sharing and just talk about keywords in general. And again, this is specifically for fashion and costume jewelry. So two of the big terms I want you to learn before we get into the screen sharing is gold tone and silver tone. So if you are selling costume jewelry or fashion jewelry, you are not going to have silver plated, gold plated, 24 karat gold, real silver, sterling silver. Sometimes you find that in Whistlepig's boxes, to be honest with you, and I've learned how to determine that and keyword that. But since we're focusing on just costume jewelry today, it's important that you remember silver tone and gold tone. This is a way to intone to your buyers in a professional way that you have fake silver and fake gold. That's it. You're just saying, hey, this is a silver chain necklace, but it's not real silver. It's fake silver. So we'll call it silver tone because that sounds more professional and fancy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be on eBay going, I got fake gold. I want to say gold tone, right? So you use silver tone, you use gold tone. It sounds good. It sounds professional. You're describing the color of the jewelry. You're telling the buyer what you have, almost in a secret code that we all have for the fashion jewelry. But you're also protecting yourself. So if a buyer buys a necklace from you and then tries to get a return or leave feedback, that you could probably get removed if they say, I bought a silver necklace and it's fake silver, it's not real silver, you can point out that several places in the description, the title, you said silver tone. So silver tone and gold tone are two super important keywords you need to learn from the get-go just to protect yourself. So like I mentioned, I did learn a lot from fellow resellers, fellow jewelry sellers who taught me initially how to determine a seed bead from a regular bead, how to determine when to use the word statement or art deco. They taught me about some of the cores like beach core, grandma core. We have African inspired. So they taught me all this. But when I actually started taking photographs and listing, I didn't know what I was doing, you guys. You guys know I've always told you I've always been somewhat of like a bookworm, video game nerd, tomboy. Like I've never been a girly girl. I've never worn jewelry. I didn't know the first thing about it. I mean, I might have known what a pearl was or a faux pearl. There's another good keyword for you. When you're listing costume jewelry and fashion jewelry, you don't want to claim that you have anything real or authentic unless you can prove it or you can tell that it's real. So you want to use, like I said, the silver tone, the gold tone, and faux pearl, F-A-U-X. The beautiful part about the AI lister on list perfectly, it's so smart. It can tell you if something is vintage, and it can tell you when gemstones are real or when something is a bakelite. It really can. It's that smart. It uses a combination of Google image searching and regular AI. It is coded and created by resellers for resellers. So it's made to look for certain keywords that we would use as resellers, and it writes your descriptions from the point of view of someone who does sell on eBay. So we'll get into that in just a minute, but I really wanted to point out again, it's so important not to claim that anything is authentic or real. So use F-A-U-X, faux pearl. You could even say faux silver and faux gold, but I think silver tone and gold tone are more common. Another great tip for you guys is always think about how a buyer searches. So think like your buyer. Don't get too descriptive and use adjectives like cute or fun unless you think a buyer's going to search for it. In some instances, I think those adjectives or descriptors are perfectly A-okay. If you have a pink rainbow unicorn ring, it would be okay to say a fun unicorn ring gift for a girl. But you always want to think like a buyer. How are they going to search for something? And there's certain keywords, or like I said before, like a secret code between sellers and buyers of jewelry. Certain words you probably wouldn't think they would be searching for, but they are. Like statement. I mentioned statement. When you have something that can be a statement piece or a statement necklace or a statement earrings, there are buyers who look for that because the statement piece is just that. It's something that's spectacular. It's big. It's chunky. It's noticeable. It's fancy. There's a lot of different types of items you can put statement on. I basically just go with my gut instinct. If it's honkin' chonkin, that's what I call the big necklaces. If it's a honkin' chonkin or sparkly, or think of like Is it going to be seen from a distance? Is it spectacular? But that is a keyword they're looking for. African inspired is another one. Spiritual, inspirational, religious. So use your eyeballs and actually look at what you're listing, but also have Google Image help you. And then if you are a List Perfectly subscriber, you can have their AI help you. There are so many keywords and so many different ways to describe jewelry. I never would have even had the knowledge or the education without Google Image. Google Image was my first teacher. I started listing jewelry at the beginning of 2024 of this year, and the AI lister for List Perfectly only came out a couple months ago. So for most of the year, Google Image was my very first teacher, and that is how I learned keywords. Now I just use the AI lister, but use the tools at your disposal. Use what you have to learn. If you don't like Google Images, then go on eBay and just spend a half an hour to an hour a couple times a week to do your research and look at other people's listings. Probably takes a little bit longer. It's a little more tedious, but if that's how you want to learn, that's fine. I'm just really encouraging you to use what you have at your fingertips. You've got Terapeak. You can go on the platforms you sell on: Etsy, Poshmark, Mercari, eBay, Depop, wherever, and look at other people's listings and study how are they describing jewelry? What are they calling these pieces? But Google Image is the fast way to do it, and I'm going to show you how fast it is. So instead of scouring through Terapeak and all these platforms, you can just go right on Google Images, and boom, you've got just pages of items similar to yours, and you can see what people are calling them. You can see what people are saying about them, and you can learn your keywords that way. This necklace here is the very first necklace I've ever listed. It still hasn't sold, but that's okay. It was my very first necklace I took a picture of and listed and did my research on Google Images. And so my very first piece, I learned what seed beads are, which are these tiny beads. I did put African inspired because I had seen some examples of African inspired jewelry from my reseller friends who were teaching me. And red, multi-strand. So all of these words here. And that's why I like Google Images, because you can quickly get a lot of examples of what other people are calling something without having to scour or do the research or type yourself. You just go on Google Image and boom, there you go. This is got all your keywords there. You can even go look at prices if you wanted to. I personally don't comp jewelry, and later this week I do have a video coming up for you guys on my pricing strategies for jewelry. So we'll go over that later this week. But if you're still comping, or you just want to compare and see what other people are doing with their prices, you can see the prices here. Love Google Images. And you can see how easy it is with List Perfectly, right? So you just go into your listing. There is at the top corner of each photo a little like magnifying glass globe icon that you click, and it takes you right there. So keywords, a lot of it can be intuition, but a lot of it is a learning curve. So I could have told you that that was a Disney Parks Mickey Mouse head bracelet when I was new to jewelry, but I couldn't have told you that these were seed beads or this was a multi-stranded necklace. I would not have known what a Y drop necklace was, or a lobster closure. There's still some closures for earrings that I don't have memorized, but the AI will tell me what it is. I wouldn't have known to call things tribal, beach core, surfer, chunky. I learned all of that from Google Images. I do use boho a lot. I tack boho on anything to me that looks like it's from the beach, it's nature, it's Wiccan, if it's hippie, if it looks retro 70s, anything like that, I attach boho to. I will use nugget for items that have these real small, chunky pieces of gemstones, nugget gemstones. I learned that from Google Images. So, you know, I can make this video for you guys and help you with your keywords and how to use them. But there's thousands and there's millions and there's so many I don't even know. Still, I can show you my listings and what I've done, but I really recommend doing your research on each piece. As you're listing, it's not hard to just go to Google Images and see what other people are saying. There will come a time when you've been doing it long enough that most pieces you can probably just choose your keywords for yourself. After you learn, it's a whole learning process, but there will still be some pieces new to you. But like these 1980s plastic bangle bracelets, I probably would not need to Google image those anymore. I know they're bangle bracelets. I know they're plastic or acrylic, depending on how they feel in my hand. I've learned that. This is a morganite gemstone, so I wouldn't have known that. Another thing I like to do with gemstones, if the AI tells me it's a gemstone, if it's rose quartz or hematite, I will do a quick Google search and I'll show you what comes up. It's really cool. So I'll go with rose quartz. I'll just do bracelets because it'll pull up what I need. There's always these little listings that will tell you what those are good for, right? That's Walmart. And there's little drop downs. What is doing a rose quartz bracelet do? What is doing? What does wearing a rose quartz bracelet do? It stands for love, compassion, and forgiveness. So people who are spiritual want to know what these gemstones are going to do for them. So you can tie some of these keywords in as well. I think I did a couple just the other day that I was going to show you. Here's a boho pink white shell. I did put natural surfer beach core because it's got shells on it. There's some good keywords for you. Iridescent is good if they're shiny, like a rain, like if it's a clear bead and it's shiny like a rainbow. Faceted is a good word for things that are chiseled or have facets to them. I can tell you that anything that hangs off of a bracelet is a charm. Anything that hangs off of a necklace is a pendant. But these are just things that will come to you. Elegant. I do use elegant, even though that's an adjective and a descriptor. I feel as a buyer, that's something I'm going to look for. If I'm looking for, if I want just fashion costume jewelry, not a real piece of jewelry, and I'm looking for something that looks formal for a party or an event, I might look for an elegant necklace. Holiday party is a good one. Evening, formal, those are also good. You want to put vintage in there if it's vintage. You've got filigree. I may be saying these wrong, some of these words, because I did learn them from reading. I've never heard them spoken aloud. So because I learned them from researching and reading, I may be pronouncing them incorrectly. If so, I apologize. But I know how to spell them. I know what they mean, right? So that's holes in the metal. It's filigree. And then I believe yesterday I got some down here that may have. Yeah, so this is a rhodochrosite pendant, and I looked it up on Google. Just the way I showed you, I just looked at that rose quartz. And so I put natural, love, compassion, spiritual, because that's what that gem is good for. Here's a rose quartz. I put healing on that one. See, I put boho on this leaf because it's a leaf. I don't know. Felt boho to me. Boho on a butterfly. Boho is probably one of my most used keywords, that I might use it incorrectly at times, but it's fine. I feel like if I feel like it's boho, I'm putting boho. So again, back to that intuition and that gut feeling. You want to do your research, you want to learn, but what do you think it looks like? Because as a buyer who's going to look at it, you want to think like them. And if you're someone who likes retro 70s fashion and you like butterflies, that might be a boho piece. Retro is another good word. So if you can't for sure say it's vintage, but the style reminds you of a different decade, you can put retro. I put retro 80s on a lot of bangle bracelets. Anything that's like cherry, bright red, I do put retro 80s and 50s. Because in the 50s, they all wore those big honkin' faux pearl red necklaces, but they resurfaced again in the 80s. Most of us are probably old. I'm very old. I'm like 80. So I remember a lot of decades. But you can just look at something and it'll remind you. Look, these ones here, I put retro 50s and 60s because don't these look like June Cleaver to you or something from that 50s or 60s decade? Maybe even Jackie Kennedy reminiscent. So you can just go with your gut and go, man, that looks like something from the 70s. But if you can't prove it's vintage, just use the term retro. Here's an 80s, 90s. I almost always put 80s and 90s together on the same piece because there was like the late 90s into the late 80s into the early 90s that kind of overlapped in fashion. And the same with 50s and 60s. And then the late 60s into the 70s as well. So you can do it however you want. Here's one where I did actually put cute animal because I did put gift, and these are going to go under the little girls category. So anyone looking for a cute gift for a girl for Christmas going into Q4, I want to make sure that that says cute. There's very rare instances where I will use adjectives or descriptors like cute or fun or fun. Cute or fun or fun. I meant to say funny. Elegant, boho, vintage, retro, and then the decade. Here's Art Deco. So anything that reminds you of Art Deco. These days, the AI tells me when it's Art Deco. But when I was first learning, either Google Images or just my instinct, those look like Art Deco. A good rule of thumb is if you can imagine the mom from Beetlejuice wearing them, because you remember her sculptures and stuff, how eccentric she was. So if it makes me think of her, I put Art Deco. So that is how to kind of learn and determine what keywords to use. Here's a vintage piece. Now, this one I would use probably Southwestern. Maybe not. It's not as Southwestern as some items, but that is another good keyword now that I'm thinking about it. Here's one. Southwestern. So if you have like the silver, turquoise jewelry, a lot of men's bow ties. You know what I'm talking about? Almost call them boho ties. Bolo ties, things like that. You can use Southwestern. You can use tribal. So you can just Google image. Now, if you don't have List Perfectly, you are going to want to Google image without it. So you'll go to images.com, google.com. You can save that to your bookmarks or just go to Google and type in Google Images and it'll take you to this page. But I think it's faster and a more efficient way to work if you bookmark things that you're going to go to all the time. If you have to type it in every time, I feel like it's a waste of time. But you guys know I'm all about streamlining processes and always managing my time and working more efficiently. So bookmark it. And then you'll just upload an image. So let's upload a photo here. And it's not a piece of jewelry, but you get the gist. You just upload your photo and it pulls it up on the side exactly the way List Perfectly's does. There's just a few more steps involved. If you use List Perfectly, if you are a subscriber, use theirs because you're going to be, you take your photos and then you come over to your computer. You're going to be in your listing anyway, building it, getting it ready to push out to your platforms. So just push that little magnifying glass in the corner. It's a lot faster if you're already in your listing. If you don't use List Perfectly, bookmark the images, and then you can upload your image here. You only really need the first one, and you can get a gist of what you've got. You can get keywords. But Google Images is definitely a very good tool, a very good research tool if you're new to jewelry and you're just learning. So I want to show you their Express Lister real quick. I just uploaded some photos of a necklace earring set I just took. You don't need that picture. Okay, so there's the necklace and the earring set. This is how I take my photos. It's pretty ugly before I remove the background. They're on a card. That's, you can see on the corners, the card is all bent out of shape. This is how I take my pictures. I'll show you how the background remover on List Perfectly works as well. So this is how I take them. I clip the necklaces here and lean them against a box. And I get close-ups. Now, it is recommended not to remove your background before you run the listing assistant. And it creates the listing off of your first 6 photos. So make sure your first 6 photos have any pertinent information you want in that listing. So I moved that there because that's got the brand on it. And I kind of am more important that we see the different honkin' chonkin' pieces of the necklace. All right. Now, normally I do this on my phone. I take my pictures right on my phone. And when I'm done taking the photos, it's the same orange button on the phone. I click that and it will create my listing for me while I bag and tag and get my next piece ready. You can also choose your tone. They have different tones in here that you can choose based on how you want your listing to sound. I use professional for jewelry. I use funny for plush. You can type in your own tones. I was fiddle farting around and I used Halloween and Stephen King on some stuff. It was pretty cool. But you're going to launch it. It does take a minute, which is why I do it on my phone. Because while this is running, I'm taking that necklace, I'm putting it in the bag that I store my jewelry in, bagging and tagging, and then I'm taking the next piece out and already getting it ready for photos. I also feel like this process is faster on my phone than my computer. Could just be me being crazy. All right, so now that I've graduated to using List Perfectly's AI listing assistant, I don't use Google Image anymore. I only use this Express Lister. Like I said, I do it on my phone. And this came up with statement necklace and earring set with wood and pearl accents. So I'll want to change that to faux pearl. They might be real pearls, and the AI knew that. Again, I am not going to risk my account or a sale not fully knowing if that's a real pearl or not. I don't want to give information that could not be true. So I, with my costume jewelry, just always say faux pearl. And in the description, it says this statement jewelry set featuring a necklace and earrings combines wood and pearl accents with intricate chain designs, providing an elegant and bold accessory. And then it has some stuff. This is how I learned about lobster clasps, hook earrings. So it does tell you what type of closure you have in most instances if you take a close-up of it. So we're going to go back to my listings just to show you a couple more titles and keywords that their AI lister came up with. Vintage silver plated pendant. Now I'm pretty confident this one is silver plated just from what I've learned. Southwestern. This one picked up that it was juicy couture and used rhinestones for me. I do add fashion at the end, fashion jewelry and women. I do add that at the end, barring room, and let the AI do the rest. Here's an Art Deco, silver rose gold tone pendant, textured double stone. So these are all things that I never would have known. These, I believe, have a weird closure that I had never heard of. Lever back. So I've learned about lever back hooks or lever back. Apparently I'm from the UK. Lever back. But lever back, however you say it. I learned about those kinds of hooks. I learned about Y drop, dangle, drop earrings, post, stud, all that stuff. Google Images first. Now I use this. And I'm still learning every day. The lever backs are new to me. These are retro 70s boho handcrafted. So the AI is smart enough that normally it can pick up vintage and handcrafted. The thing with the being vintage, most of the jewelry that I'm going to buy wholesale has been in circulation for years. It has probably been in storage units or stores or various places around the world before it's shipped to Whistlepig Market and then shipped to me. To be vintage, it has to be from 2004 or earlier. I know. I said earlier, we're all old. You feel old yet? So I'm pretty confident that most of my pieces are going to be older than 2004. Most of the stuff is not new that we're getting if we're buying bulk from warehouses and things like that. I'm pretty confident in this AI. Really confident. We got some dangle drop earrings. See all these glitter teardrop charms? I never would have thought of that. I really had to teach myself jewelry because I don't know anything about it, or I didn't. Now I'm learning. We're into September and I've been doing this all year. Now I've learned, but I'm still finding new to me pieces out of every box. This glitter teardrop charms pair of earrings, I've never had anything like that before. Now, if I ever see them again or something similar, I would know what to call them. And that's the whole process of learning. Once you learn something, hopefully you retain it, or after a couple times, seeing something similar like the seed beads or the multi-strand or the Y drop, the lever backs. Here's a pendant on a bracelet. So they called this a pendant. Like there's more than one AI. There probably is. They're going to take over the world. Have you seen Terminator? Usually on a bracelet, something that's dangling is called a charm, but this is the larger one and it called it a pendant. So I'm going to leave it alone. It called this one a charm. It's smaller. So this is how I come up with my keywords. I use the listing assistant, the AI from List Perfectly. Prior to that, it was always Google Images. So if you are a List Perfectly subscriber, use your List Perfectly. Use the little icon in the corner to go straight to Google Images. Use their Express Lister. Use the AI. If you're not a List Perfectly subscriber, give it a whirl. Try it for 30% off. What do you got to lose? At the end of the month, you cancel if you don't like it. And then you can also just use Google Images. Now, the other thing I've always told people about plushies. I've always told people if you want to learn plushies, if you want to learn keywords for plushies, character names, comping, and how to price them, I've always said just stock my store and stock Robert's store. You guys are probably familiar with my friend Robert, the zombie bargain hunter, who's also a huge plush lister. He's in my Facebook group as well. He's a moderator there, in fact. He's been on this channel a lot. You guys probably know who he is. But I've always told folks, stock our stores. If you're new to plush and you are still learning, you can go to our stores or anyone else's that you know that sells plush. If you're learning blouses or dresses, I don't sell them, but chances are you know a reseller who is experienced in blouses and dresses, and it might be their wheelhouse or their niche. Go look at their store. See how they're describing items. Look at their keywords. See how they're pricing stuff. If you know sellers that sell an item you're learning and they're trusted sellers and you're pretty confident they know what they're doing, go be a stalker. Stalk their store. Look at what they're doing. You can always look at their pricing guide, their strategies for keywords, how they're running sales. You can emulate other sellers and see if it works for you. I've said this before on this channel. Not everything everyone does is going to be for you or work for you, but you can take what does and leave the rest behind. You can emulate what will work for you and leave the rest behind. But one of the best ways to learn keywords and pricing, even better than an AI, even better than Google Images, is from other sellers. Learning about a new to you category from a seller who's been in that niche and that's their wheelhouse, that's priceless. So you can stalk stores, you can join Facebook groups. Mine is called Flippin Hippos Reseller Pod. You can be part of the Instagram reseller community. If you're a List Perfectly user, there's listing parties, which are just Zoom calls all day long, around the clock on all different subjects for you to learn and be around other sellers. I think learning from each other is priceless. There's no other way to learn than from someone who has already done it, or already learned it, or already knows it, and is willing to share that with you. Okay, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments below. All right, guys, go be productive. Go do your research, learn your keywords. I'll see you next time. Bye.